Every year, hundreds of thousands of workers report some sort of work-related injury. Of those reports, unfortunately, over 1,000 are work-related deaths. Falls from heights are the second leading cause of death in the construction industry. My name is Duda. I work for Sheriff Goslin in the Cincinnati branch. Today, we're here to talk about the most important part of our safety program, which is fall protection. At Sheriff Goslin, our fall protection consists of multiple things. These would include roof jacks, tow boards, safety harnesses, lifelines, roof brackets, and sometimes guardrail systems. OSHA requires fall protection on any job with an eave height of 25 feet or greater or a roof pitch of A12 or greater. Sheriff Goslin has gone above and beyond OSHA regulations with our safety program. We require fall protection on an eave height of 18 feet or greater and A12 or greater. Starting in the spring of 2011, it's going to be mandatory for all of Sheriff Goslin employees to wear fall protection on a fall protection required job. If an employee is caught not wearing fall protection on a fall protection required job, it is grounds for immediate dismissal. If other violations are discovered other than fall protection violations, other disciplinary actions will be taken. Also part of fall protection is roof jacks and tow boards, which will be discussed in greater detail in another video segment. But I want to talk about it right now briefly to reaffirm that jack boards go from one rake edge to the other with the roof brackets no more than 6 feet apart, generally 4 to 6 feet apart, with the boards continuing all the way across the roof to eave edge, with jack boards butting up to each other or overlapping. I wanted to show you a good example of the jack boards and tow boards set up along the eave edge. You see the spacing, the boards are butting or less than 6 inches. You've got the jack boards not extending more than 12 inches past the jack and at least 6, and they extend from one rake edge all the way to the other. This is a good example of the proper slide board, tow board setup. Continuing our talk about tow boards, slide guards, I wanted to show you an example maybe that is not quite right and we need to correct. If you notice here, you have a board sticking about 18 inches past the jack. That is a violation and needs to be corrected. If you were to slide and hit that board, it's too far away from the jack and could pop out of place and create a hazard. So we're going to take the time to correct that while we're here and make sure that the employees here know that that is a violation and instruct them again on the proper way to set up jacks and boards. I want to show you how to properly wear a harness, and sometimes they can be tricky of getting them on, but I want to show you the first thing you do when you pick up the harness. And a lot of these, it's with the harness with the black shoulder supports on it. It's kind of like a little brace. One of the more important things you need to look at on your harness before you wear it is to give it an inspection. These ride in the back of the truck. A lot of times you want to make sure that there are no cuts or nicks anywhere in this nylon that would start to weaken it. So check it over real quick, make sure all the stitching is correct, nothing's coming apart, it hasn't had some sort of solvent spilled on it that could start to deteriorate it. Just make sure it's in good shape. If there's any nicks or cuts on it, it's not safe to wear and you don't want to use that one, you need to get a new one. But just give it a good inspection before you put it on, make sure everything is good to go. All the webbing is in good shape. Get that so it's kind of like a jacket. Stick one arm in this way, put that over your shoulder, just like putting on a jacket. So you've got this draped over your shoulders. Make sure everything's straight at that point. You've got the long braces here, the wraps here. The one on this side will come up in between your legs, wrap it around, find the middle metal clip behind you. That clip's there. You may need to take the slack up. Adjust it this way, hold it tight. Get that secure. Same thing on the other side. Wrap that around. Make sure it's not twisted. Locate the other metal snap. Snap that in. Make it snug. You want it a little snug right there. These have a quick disconnect similar to the seatbelt in your car. Hook those together, make sure that that's not twisted, snap it together, make sure it's in tight. Got the little levers that you would disconnect it with, but snap it in real good and tight. You may need to adjust the center. The height is taken off that way. Keep that good and snug. Got your D-ring in the back where that clips to your safety line. Just as important as inspecting your safety harness, you also need to inspect your lifeline. When you see a lifeline like this, the webbing will start to come apart. It's had roof tar, got stuck on it. Everything's starting to get a little worn and frayed on this one. This has all been, been damaged in the back of the truck. You really need to take really good care of your safety equipment. Your life could depend upon. This type of line right here should be taken out of service. This is not a safe line to use. I'm going to show you a good one here. This one's a little newer. It's been taken care of a little bit better. Everything's still in good shape. It's got the plastic protection over the braiding to keep that intact. The rope is very good. Check the entire length of the rope. Make sure there's been no nicks or cuts. Come to the retractable part here, the rope grab. Make sure the webbing on that is in good shape. Make sure this part is intact. If this has ever been extended, you cannot use it. It needs to be replaced. You need that safety part still intact on that. Make sure that it moves freely like it's supposed to. Make sure it grabs like it's supposed to. Make sure, again, you got the arrow going the right direction when you do hook it into the roof anchor. All these things will keep you safe on the job. I'm going to show you how to nail on the roof, the safety harness bracket. Needs to be nailed into a rafter. You want to start about 8 feet from the edge. Locate your rafter, which I've done that ahead of time. It's right here. Missed. That was good, huh? You want to put 6 nails on each side of this bracket. Continue with that with 6 nails on each side. And as you after you get your first anchor hooked in, you want to put any additional hangers or brackets needed every 8 to 10 feet down the rest of the ridge of the roof. Once you have your roof anchor installed with the 6 nails on each side along the roof rafter, you want to take your safety rope that's got a special latch here, squeeze it this side, squeeze it on that side, hook it into the anchor. Now you have the part that hooks to your harness. Very important step is to make sure you have the arrow going up. That's up at the ridge. So that when you, go ahead and hook that on first. Same anchor system. Find on the back of your harness, connect that in. And again, we'll focus on this part here. It's very important to have the arrow up. So as you come down, the anchor will grab. The other way allows you to slide back up the roof as you move around on the job. So you got to hold that up to go down the roof. You can work on and then release that so that it grips into the roof with the rope. I'm going to show you how to hook the safety anchor to your harness, how that's hooked onto the rope. This opens up. While it's open, you see that arrow. That's the up. That's the arrow going up towards the ridge. You have that open, lay the rope right in there over towards the top of that arrow. You close that down on there. Turn the screw back in all the way. Tighten that right down. That allows the other safety anchor to go in there, and to release it back off of there, you have to hold that down to allow the screw to come out. So I'll put that back together one more time for you. Got the rope grab. Again, lay it in with the arrow up. Close it. Put that screw in all the way. and that bracket will click in place, and you are good to go. The rope grab is now functional, and it allows you to freely go up the roof and come down the roof. You have to push that up, but then it grabs as it needs to be once you get down close. We're going to go over a little bit more detail about the rope grab. As you move around on the job, you're going to need to push up this way on that part to release it to come down. So while you're working on the roof here, you get that so you have about 2 foot slack. And while you're working, and then when you go back up along the roof, it's very important that you take up the slack and just keep working it up and down as you go so that you're never any more than 2 feet away from the rope grab so that you're protected at all times. Going back down again, you got to hold that in your hand, release it. You can move around over to here, but then have it in a position where you're safely anchored with the rope grab anywhere near the edges like that. Now we have the anchor fastened to the roof properly with 6 nails on each side. We have the lifeline hooked up, the rope grab put in place, and then we go along the roof, additionally put in the additional roof brackets. For the additional lifelines, you need 1 bracket per man on the roof. You cannot hook 2 lifelines to 1 anchor. As tempting as it might be, you got to have 1 bracket per man on the roof. Everybody has their own lifeline, their own bracket, 1 per man on the job. Again, the spacing per man, 1 bracket per man. Keep them 8 to 10 feet apart so you're not getting tangled up on the job. As you work across, you're going to have to take turns on each side, but it is very important that you have 1 bracket per man. Everyone gets their own lifeline. Typically 2 guys on this side, you'd have a bracket over there and a bracket over here, 8 to 10 feet apart, maybe a little bit further depending on the size of the ridge. And additionally, for the people working on the rear, same thing. We're going to look at the roof brackets again. We do have a little bit more here than typical. Up here, it's a smaller roof job, but we're going to have 2 fellows working on the back, 2 fellows on the front. And we put an additional one up here for our video crew. So there is a little congested of roof brackets here. But this is a typical installation of the safety. For both sides, when you're working on both sides of the roof, we have a little bit more brackets than usual. But again, 1 bracket per man, per safety line. As I'm working towards the edge of the roof, you run out of rope, you have to reach up, release the slide, inch it down a little bit, and again, don't have way too much here. You're in a dangerous situation, you've got too much slack. Keep that up above you so you got a little, about 2 feet of play at the most as you're working around the edge, so that if you were to slip, it's going to stop you before you go over the edge. To show you how that will work, it does move very free, but if it was needed to stop you, you can see how the rope doesn't slide as it's got pressure against it. So even though you've got some restriction of movement, you still have a lot of freedom of movement, but as needed, it's there to stop you. If you have any questions at all on fall protection, please see your assistant manager or your manager with any questions. We want everyone to be safe. And remember, at Sheriff Goslin, our employees are our most important asset. Please be safe and have a great day.